A very significant part of our work program, as I was advancing before, is the Global Charter Agenda for Human Rights in the City. It is a global charter that has been promoted from the roots of UCLG by our Committee on Social Inclusion and Human Rights that has been progressing and working over the past years and has now been renewed in a very practical fashion, in close collaboration with all the cities that are already human rights cities, but also with the High Commissioner on Human Rights of the United Nations. Human rights have been at the heart of the work of our organization, and what the Global Charter is now trying to do is to provide a guidance to those that want to do more, that are not certain how to go further. This is from the perspective that human rights are not a mere declaration, but that they need to be translated in action, in service delivery, in practical arrangements. So I now would propose to have my colleague, Adrià Duarte, who is the head of the UCLG Committee on Social Inclusion, Participatory Democracy and Human Rights, to facilitate the flow around this important global charter that is going to be guiding our work on human rights. Adrià, I see you there. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, dear Secretary General, dear colleagues. It's really a pleasure to being introduced this instrument before the World Council. As the Secretary General has been mentioning, it has been a really long process of more than 3 years of co-construction of this document with a lot of cities, a lot of partners, and also with this dialogue with the Office of the High Commissioner on Human Rights. And it's a pleasure to being introduced that with some of our key cities and key members of this process. So first, to explain about what is this charter agenda, I have the pleasure to give the floor to Marta Villanueva, who is a councillor of the city of Barcelona, who will be introducing what is the Global Charter Agenda. Marta, tienes la palabra.
Muchas gracias. Buenos días. Primero querría mostrar la solidaridad de la ciudad de Barcelona con Venezuela, con el pueblo de Venezuela por el terremoto sufrido. Es para mí un honor tomar la palabra en nombre de la ciudad de Barcelona para presentar la nueva Carta Agenda Mundial por los Derechos Humanos en la ciudad, un documento que hoy sometemos a la consideración de este Consejo Mundial. Esta carta es el resultado de un largo proceso colectivo de reflexión, diálogo y construcción conjunta. Durante los últimos años, ciudades, gobiernos locales y regionales, redes internacionales, organizaciones de las sociedades civiles, universidades y expertos de todo el mundo han contribuido a su elaboración. A todas ellas, nuestro más sincero agradecimiento. Y creemos que este documento puede convertirse en una referencia fundamental para el movimiento municipalista internacional, en un contexto global marcado por el aumento de las desigualdades, las tensiones democráticas y los desafíos sociales y ambientales. La Carta reafirma una convicción que compartimos. Los derechos humanos se hacen realidad, ante todo, en el ámbito local. En un contexto global en el que crecen los discursos que quieren hacer retroceder los derechos, esta apuesta colectiva por la protección, el respeto y la garantía de derechos en las ciudades es un posicionamiento claro, valioso y valiente en la defensa de la democracia. La Carta recoge una visión integral de los derechos humanos en la ciudad. Reconoce no solo derechos fundamentales ya reconocidos a nivel internacional, sino también nuevos derechos humanos. Al mismo tiempo, ofrece orientaciones y recomendaciones concretas para que los gobiernos locales podamos avanzar en su implementación. Habla del derecho a la vivienda, a la salud, a la educación, a los cuidados, a la participación democrática, a un medio ambiente sano, a la igualdad y a la no discriminación. Reconoce derechos indispensables en nuestras sociedades como el derecho a la energía, al agua, el derecho a Internet, a la sostenibilidad del turismo, a la justicia climática, a la accesibilidad y a la proximidad, por mencionar algunos ejemplos. Para Barcelona es un orgullo haber acompañado este proceso y apoyar la Carta. Barcelona ha sido siempre una ciudad comprometida con los derechos humanos y con los movimientos municipalistas y desarrolla sus políticas bajo la guía de los estándares internacionales en derechos humanos. La ciudad trabaja en muchos de los derechos reconocidos en la nueva Carta, en los que no me extenderé, pero sí querría destacar algunos ejemplos de mi ámbito competencial. Barcelona ha asumido el reto de hacer frente a un fenómeno creciente en el mundo, la soledad no deseada, y para ello ha creado un pacto de ciudad que busca el apoyo de las entidades, el tejido asociativo, el mundo académico, las empresas y el conjunto de la sociedad. Barcelona cuenta con una estrategia de accesibilidad universal que busca transformar la ciudad en un entorno completamente a nivel físico, accesible a nivel físico, comunicativo, sensorial y cognitivo para todas las personas. Y esta estrategia se lleva a cabo a través del Instituto Municipal de Personas con Discapacidad, organismo que trabaja para lograr la plena inclusión. En Barcelona sabemos que no hay salud sin salud mental y por eso disponemos de un plan específico que trabaja en la preservación y en la promoción del bienestar emocional a lo largo de todo el ciclo vital y siempre bajo la perspectiva de la equidad y el respeto a los derechos humanos. Y como ciudad valoramos mucho el impulso de un consenso internacional que promueve los derechos humanos. Esta carta es sin duda un paso hacia adelante. Además, muchos de los derechos que recoge están directamente vinculados a responsabilidades que asumimos cada día desde los gobiernos locales, como la salud pública, el bienestar, los cuidados y los derechos de las personas con discapacidad. La Carta nos recuerda que construir ciudades más saludables, inclusivas y accesibles no es únicamente una cuestión de gestión pública, es una cuestión de derechos humanos y garantizar la autonomía, la accesibilidad universal, la igualdad de oportunidades y el acceso a servicios públicos de calidad es esencial para que nadie quede atrás. Hoy damos un paso importante, pero la adopción de esta Carta no es un punto de llegada, sino un punto de salida, de partida, un compromiso renovado para seguir construyendo ciudades que sitúen la dignidad humana, la igualdad y la justicia social dentro de sus políticas. Les invitamos a apoyar esta nueva Carta Agenda Global por los Derechos Humanos en la ciudad y a hacerla suya. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, regidora. Muchas gracias también por presentar que esta Carta Agenda, evidentemente, es mucho más allá que el reconocimiento o el listado de derechos, pero también hablamos de acciones concretas, como también has mencionado, la vinculación también con los cuidados, que también se vincula perfectamente con la agenda de CGLU y también, obviamente, con la intención de ser un instrumento útil para las políticas de las ciudades. Muchísimas gracias. Y ahora, de lo que es la sustancia de la Carta, vamos a movernos un poco a entender el porqué de la necesidad de esta Carta y también la conexión con el resto de procesos. Y para eso tengo el placer de dar la palabra a Lorena Zárate, que también ha sido una de las personas muy vinculadas al proceso de la Carta. Lorena, gracias.
Thank you, Adrià. Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Why now? Why we need a new global charter for human rights in the city now? Well, I think the answer is fairly easy. And I think it's at least twofold. On the one hand, because human rights are under attack. Human rights are under attack everywhere, in every region of the world, in many cities around the world. And that means human rights under attack, not only people are under attack, but also communities are under attack. Civil society organizations, and of course, human rights defenders are under attack, and indigenous peoples are under attack. So we need this, and we need that now, very urgently, to protect all those people and to be able to advance the human rights for everyone, everywhere. But not only that, it's also because the multilateral system is under attack. It's kind of an implosion mode, but also being attacked from the outside. And that means that we're going to lose institutions, that we're going to lose UN agencies in charge of protecting this and guaranteeing these rights, but also knowledge and expertise and the legacy and standards. And we cannot lose that. We have responsibility because a lot of effort, a lot of life went through building this. And we cannot allow that to be just destroyed, right? And who is doing that? Well, we know that local and regional governments are doing that, and we know that they're doing that with communities. And I think it's important that in this chart we are also incorporating not only human rights at the individual and collective level, but actually the rights of the cities. So not just human rights in the cities, not just the right to the city, but actually the rights of the cities, because we know that also local and regional governments are under attack, right? They have no access to adequate finance and resources. They have bigger and bigger responsibilities, growing responsibilities, and they don't have enough mandate to address those responsibilities. So that's why we are pushing forward this new charter. We're presenting this as a crucial tool at this time. And because we know that the society is changing, and it's changing very quickly, the demographic conditions of our societies are also changing very quickly. We know that urban life is changing very quickly, and that we need to address those realities with new rights. And guess what? Local and regional governments are recognizing those rights and protecting those rights. It's not at the global level. It's not national governments that are moving fast as society is moving. So that's why we as civil society organizations are convinced that this charter is a really forward-looking tool, and a very practical tool of not just what we need to do, but how we need to do it together, local and regional governments and communities, and all of us protecting also the rights of cities. And that means the right to, of course, financing and autonomy, but also the right to climate justice, the right to territorial diplomacy, and not just local governments diplomacy, but territorial diplomacy, and of course the right to international solidarity. So we call on all of you to support this tool, because we think it's one of the most advanced tools that we have right now, and we need to connect this tool with the new urban agenda that has only 10 more years left, and with the SDGs, of course, and the 2030 agenda that has only a few more years ahead. So a crucial tool for us, and we hope you can support this and develop this in your territories. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lorena, for addressing the importance of the Charter in really a few moments. And again, this document, it's a tool, it's an opportunity for all the cities. It's really, we wish that it can be really useful for all of us. And the idea, it's not the end of this process, but just the beginning, because we really want to be implementing the process that being used for the cities for implementing and for improving the lives of people in the cities. So now, after these two interventions, we have a final one from Shams Asadi, who is the Commissioner for Human Rights of the city of Vienna, that has been also really included in this process. So how was this charter has been built, and how we can continue and be implemented through the time? Shams, thank you.
So many thanks for all of you that we work together, and of course for the document. If the Charter agenda provides a common vision, the question for us is, how do we make it a reality? The answer is very simple: by building it together and by translating human rights into local action. Around the world, cities and territories are already demonstrating that human rights can be integrated into everyday governance. In Vienna, we have learned that becoming a human rights city is not a single project or a policy. It is a continuous process of reviving how decisions are made, who is included, and whether the dignity and rights of all people are being respected and protected. This experience is shared by many cities around the world that are developing local human rights action plans, conducting human rights impact assessments, strengthening participation and accountability mechanism, and embedding human rights principles into public services and urban policies. The Charter agenda is designed to support and accelerate these efforts. Its implementation will rely on a growing community of local and regional governments committed to learning from each other and sharing experiences. Human rights cities are already serving as a laboratory of innovation, showing how global human rights standards can be translated into local solutions, and how local and regional governments can be in the frontier of imagining and claiming new human rights. Partnerships are also essential here. Throughout the preparation process, we have worked with civil society, with academic institutions, international networks, and especially with the Office of the High Commissioner of the Human Rights from the United Nations. Together, we are building bridges between international human rights framework and local implementations. The adaptation of the Charter agenda today opens a new phase of this work. In the coming years, we want to support more cities and territories in developing human rights plans, monitoring and self-assessment tools, and participatory mechanisms that help turn commitments into measurable progress. The ambition is also reflected in the campaign 100,000 Human Rights Cities. We know it, all of us. Our goal is not only to expand to this movement, but to create a global community of practices where local governments can support each other in advancing human rights. Because human rights are not implemented in conference rooms. They are implemented in schools, in housing policies, in public spaces, in social services, in care systems, and in the daily decisions that we make at our local governments. This Charter agenda gives us a shared roadmap. Today, by adopting it, we reaffirm our collective commitment to place human dignity, participation, and inclusion at the center of local governance. Now, it is our responsibility to turn this vision into reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear Shams, dear Marta, dear Lorena, thank you very much. And again, I want to thank you all the people, because a lot of people has been involved in this process, many cities, many partners. And again, the invitation to use this Charter agenda as a reference for the different local and regional governments, as a tool also for the process of implementation of the local social covenant. And also we'd like to introduce a message from the High Commissioner of the UN for Human Rights, Mr. Volker Turk, who sends us a message by video. The Office of the High Commissioner has been really involved in this process, and it's really a great partner for us of UCLG. So please, colleagues, when you can, we have this video from Mr. Volker Turk.
Distinguished participants, my warm regards to everyone who participates in this event. Cities and regions shape the most basic features of our lives: an affordable home for every family, a classroom for every child, a clinic that is there when you need it, clean water, and so much more. But today, around the world, cities are under growing strain. Deep inequalities, often visible from one street corner to the next, mean that some communities are better served than others. Cities are growing fast. By 2030, more than 60% of people will live in urban areas. Housing shortages and aging infrastructure mean that sometimes existing systems can't keep up with needs. Floods, droughts, and other climate shocks are disrupting sanitation, transport, and other services. Meanwhile, different city departments compete for bigger pieces of the public budget. Each request is urgent, each necessary. Many of you confront these realities and challenges every day. You're responding with creativity, commitment, and solidarity. And many of you are human rights cities, integrating human rights in your governance, policies, and services. Intergenerational communities are combining healthcare, childcare, and other services with opportunities for connection and support. Some cities are asking a fundamental question: who is being left out? They are working hard to make services inclusive and accessible to everyone: women, older people, people with disabilities, migrants, refugees, and more. Universal public services provide a baseline that reflects the right of every person to live in dignity with their human rights respected. Technology can help deliver services in an equitable way, even to marginalized and isolated communities. Information inequality is growing, and it is a powder keg. It can fuel disinformation and even ignite unrest. Cities can prevent this through stronger digital infrastructure, by subsidizing connectivity, and by supporting local media. Local authorities are also ensuring that people's voices are heard in decisions about the design, delivery, and funding of public services. The success of these services is measured by whether every person is seen, counted, and able to access their rights. This builds trust, solidarity, and social cohesion. Distinguished participants, your network is a valuable expression of multilateralism at its best, by sharing experiences and driving solutions. And we stand with you. Working with cities and regions, many of you, is a major focus of the work of my office. From Kenya, Iraq, and the Philippines to South Africa, Tunisia, and Uzbekistan, my office works with local authorities to integrate human rights across policies and budgets, and to ensure that all people's voices are heard in local decision-making. Earlier this month, we launched the Global Alliance for Human Rights with a signature initiative to boost the human rights cities movement. I hope we will all participate to grow the number of human rights cities globally to 1,000 over the next 3 years, when we are going to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. By joining forces, by being creative and innovative, we can deliver better for all the people we serve.
Thank you very much. So back to you, Secretary General.
C'est plutôt à la présidente.
Désolé.
Merci Adria et tous les autres collègues. Merci aussi au message des Nations Unies relatif aux droits humains. Maintenant, est-ce qu'il y a d'autres commentaires dans la salle? Ok, je ne vois pas de commentaires. Sur ce, je vais inviter le Conseil mondial pour adopter le nouvel agenda mondial pour les droits humains dans les villes et à la diffuser auprès de ses membres et partenaires. Allons-y.